Hey, what's up guys, this is Rohan and welcome to the first tutorial of this channel. In this video, we are going to talk about the basics of Cinema 4D. For this tutorial, I have made this abstract piece which you can replicate to practice. Just to be clear, this video is for ultra beginners, meaning that you are completely new to 3D and you have no knowledge about 3D whatsoever. This can also help people who already know about 3D a little bit, but it's gonna benefit the most to people who are completely new. Now, you might have seen beautiful renders and thought of how they are made. Then you came here and watched this video because you wanted to do the same. Now, it might look complex seeing those abstract pieces and different stuff. It can look complex, but if you break those down properly, you're gonna understand everything quite well. So guys, just a note before we start the tutorial is that in this video we are not gonna get the same results as I showed you. The reason is because I rendered this on Redshift, and in this tutorial I'm gonna tell you how to do with standard renderer, because people who have just started to use Cinema 4D right now, they might not have Redshift, alright, but I would highly recommend to get Redshift, guys. If you are like a student, you can get like in very cheap, like it's something like $10 I guess or something like that. You can do that, guys, but I would highly recommend. It's gonna make your renders look really good. The render which you are seeing is not from standard renderer. It can't give anything even close to that result. That's the thing. So I would highly recommend getting Redshift. So don't think like you're gonna get something similar to this, because it's the standard renderer is just not good. So I'm also gonna make a follow-up video on how to render with Redshift, which is gonna help you how to get good looking results like the one which I made. Alright, but you need Redshift for that. So that's it. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. So before we jump into Cinema 4D, I'm gonna divide 3D into several parts. The reason is that if we do not divide 3D in several parts, it's gonna be hard for you to digest. So the first one is modeling, the second one is texturing, the third one is lighting, and the fourth one is rendering. Now there's animation and simulation as well, and there's multiple different things, which we'll talk about in future, but those are the four main ones which you're gonna use. Animation and simulation is also needed, but it's not needed every time, so but in this video we're gonna talk about that as well. We are gonna cover these topics from the top, meaning that we are not gonna get into details and stuff, because it's gonna take a long time and you're gonna get bored and then you're gonna leave learning it. So there will be no point. Alright, so I'm gonna create specific videos about everything like modeling, texturing, a full video on modeling which explains everything properly, full video or texturing and so on. But in this video I just want to cover everything from the top and not try to make you leave before even starting. So feel free to follow with me and try to experiment different settings. I will highly encourage that, because it's gonna give you better understanding of the things which we can use. So let's dive right into it. So guys, we are in Cinema 4D right now, and this was the thing I made. So I'm just gonna show you how it looks from the top, everything falling inside that, and it ends on the 90th frame. Now you might be thinking, what is this Redshift render view? Now this is a third-party application. This is also from Maxon, which is the company who made Cinema 4D. I use this personally because it gives me better looking renders. Now it's not gonna be the same for you. Now there are a lot of renders like Arnold, Octane, there's Corona, there's V-Ray, there's a lot of stuff, but I chose this because this gives me the best looking renders personally. I mean, if you want to go for the photorealistic kind of renders, you can opt for Arnold, and this Redshift also gives renders pretty fast. Now you're not gonna see this, alright? So I'm gonna make a completely new setup, alright? And we're gonna try to replicate this stuff right here. So before we dive right into that, I just want to tell you that this is objects panel. Alright, now this is my standard loadout and this is not on default. Alright, and this is the thing which you are gonna see in the beginning. I kinda adjusted that to my preference because I like having the render on the side, now like this. I just like it, and I'm gonna tell you about that in the future videos as well, but for now you don't need to do all these settings. Alright, so we're gonna talk about that in later videos. For now, this is just fine. This is just fine. You don't need anything else. So now before we get into the video, I'm just gonna tell you how to pan, orbit and zoom in the viewport, which is gonna be needed, right? So if you press one, click and drag, of course left click, alright, not right click. Press hold one, click and drag in order to pan. Hold two, click and drag in order to zoom. Hold 3, click, drag in order to orbit. So this is pretty easy to understand, alright guys. For the container I created, what we have to do is to create a cylinder. What we have to do is, now we get the primitive shape, which is like the basic stuff you get when you create these things. What happens in 3D is that you actually don't get exact shapes. It's made up of polygons, and I'm gonna talk about that as well. So now you can see there's like, it's made up of polygons. You can see guys, it's not perfectly, curved. So what we can do in order to make it more curvier is that just increase the rotation segments, meaning it's made up of more segments, and I'm going to talk about that as well. Just do what I say right now. So we can do like 60 maybe, and this is like the rotation segment. We can also do the height segment, which is not gonna make that much of a difference because it's a pretty straight line height wise, so we don't need to adjust anything that much. And these are the two handles which can help us to transform this directly without touching this stuff. So this one increases the radius. If you click and drag, this is gonna increase the radius. Let's undo it, Control Z to undo. Alright, if you click and drag this is gonna increase the height of the cylinder. You can see it's changing here, right? If I change this, if I change the radius from here, it's also gonna change right there. You can do either from there or either from here, whatever suits you. So this is the farthest we can get by creating primitive shapes. Now we have to make this. So now we have to make this customizable. All right, meaning we can, if you wanna extrude this and stuff like that, if you wanna create a hole between this and have like a border to it and stuff like that, we can't do that with this cylinder. We can't make primitive shapes into complex shapes. For that, we have to make this editable. So for that, click on the cylinder, which is on the objects tab right here, and everything you make, everything you create is gonna go there. All right, everything you create is gonna create a list of items here in this objects tab. It's similar to what you see in Photoshop and stuff like that, Illustrator. It's similar to that. So if you know about that, it's gonna be easy for you to understand. So click this and press C, and now you can model this object properly. So if you don't do that, you cannot. If you do that, now you can do that, but now you cannot do the settings which we did before, like increasing the segments and stuff, increasing the radius. We can do that, but there's another way. We cannot do the stuff like that which we did before. And also, these are handles to move the object. So if you press this one, of course this is 3D, so we have X, Y and Z. This is the Y, this is the Z, blue one is the Z, the green one is the Y, and the red one is the X. So if I click on this one, then move and drag, then we move it on the Z axis. If you press this one, then we move in the Y axis. If we drag by clicking this is the X one. All right, so you can do that, or we can do by combinations. So this one moves the Y and the Z. All right, it's not gonna change on the X axis. This one is gonna move on the Y and the X. It's not gonna change on the Z axis. And this one, it's gonna move on the Z and the X axis, not on the Y. All right, so that's for moving. For it rotating, we cannot see the Y rotation because it's a cylinder, so it's not gonna make any difference even if I rotate it. All right, it's gonna look like the same. Now if we rotate on the Z axis, you can see similar if we rotate on the X axis. So that's how you can rotate. So this is where you select it from. All right, this is for moving, This is for rotating. And which I didn't talk about was the scale. Now, before I told you how to increase the radius size and height size, that's a thing which you can do. But if you want to increase it proportionately, like everything is getting increased, then this is the scale one. If you want to increase on the Z axis, drag the blue one. If you want to increase on the Y axis, drag the green one. If you want to increase on the X axis, drag the red one, right? And it does not do it uniformly. For doing it uniformly, other than the line, press anywhere else and drag. It's gonna do like uniformly. The next thing we are gonna do is that we're gonna model this object. And I'm not gonna tell you to model like something really crazy, alright? Don't like it's gonna be really hard for you to digest for now. I'm just gonna tell you to do some simple extruding stuff. It's not gonna require that much, So what we can do here is that click on any of these three buttons right here. We are currently on the model mode, alright, which we don't want to be in, alright. So there are three options to model any object. One is by the polygons, one is by the edges, one is by the points. And I know it's gonna be pretty hard for you to understand, but I'm just gonna show you right now, alright. So as I said before, everything is made up of polygons. So this shape is made up of polygons. Every single area is made up of polygons, alright. So what I was saying before is that when we increase those segments before, which you saw, what we did was increase the number of polygons. We were just increasing the number of polygons. So what happens is that when you increase the number of polygons, what we do is that we make the edges more curvier because there are more points. So it's gonna make it look more curvier. But in reality, what it is in the corner it's just a straight line, alright. No polygon is gonna be curved like this, alright. It's never gonna be curved. It's gonna create a line from the displacement. It's not gonna curve stuff like that. It's just an illusion which you see that everything looks curved because we are seeing it from a distance, alright. If you're seeing from here, you just cannot tell if it's curved or not, alright. If you get close, then you can see it's not a perfect curve. So when you increase the amount of polygons on the top, you just make it more curvier. But the thing is, it takes more time in order to render this than the one which has lower amount of polygons. So that's the thing which you want to keep in the mind, alright. Don't just crank everything up. Just crank only if you need those many polygons, alright. Otherwise there is no need. This was the radius one, alright. But there was another height one which I told you that you can increase the height segments. In this area it's not gonna make any sense, because the reason is it's straight, right? It's straight. If it's already straight, it's not curved, so we don't need those many polygons to make it straight. Whenever the object is straight from a side, then don't need those many polygons or segments. So now let's do what I did. What we can do for creating this a container is that we have to delete all the polygons on the top, which is gonna create a hole on the top, right? We need that hole because we want to throw the geometric shapes inside the container. So there needs to be hole, right? So what we can do is select each and delete, alright? We can do that, but it's gonna take a lot of time because there's like so many polygons on the top, right? So what we can do, there is another easier way, is to go here. This is the brush selection. This is the loop selection. Now we just need the brush selection, and there's also a rectangle selection inside that. And I don't use these two because I just don't need them, So what this brush selection is that just, hold, boom, drag like that, and everything is selected, guys. Now with the rectangle selection, what you have to do is you cannot do like that, alright. Highlight the area inside it. It's gonna select the polygons which lie in the rectangle. Now it's also gonna select things which are behind because they were also coming in the rectangle, but that's why I don't use the rectangle one in this scenario, because we don't need the ones which are behind. And there's one option to do that, like if you don't want to select the ones which are behind, which you cannot see, is to turn on the visible only. Now if you do that, alright, let's just deselect it. If you click anywhere on the screen, now if you do that, you perfectly select the ones which are above. and you do not select the ones which are down, which are below, because we have visible only turned on. So you can do that way, but I would just recommend to use, brush selection, because it's just faster. Let's do this. And now just press delete and we have a hole. Now the thing is, we can just use this as a container, but the thing is, if you want to create a glass, the glass should have a thickness. All right, a glass without thickness is not gonna work properly. There is a setting which we can use, which is called like thin something like that, thin film or something like that, but it's not 100% accurate. So we have to create thickness, we have to create thickness. So what we can do is select everything. All right, right now we are working on polygons. All right, we can work on edges as well, by which we can select edges, then we can manipulate those edges. We can also select points. Now we have the option to manipulate points. For example, see this, manipulated, select the edges, we can see this, polygons, you can do like this. So you can use any of those settings which is more convenient for you. All right, so now for my for this I used polygon one, which was like the easiest one to use. So now we're going to use the rectangle selection, because we're going to select everything. Or you can also press Ctrl A, because Ctrl A just selects everything. All right, so guys, you don't need that. For extruding, press right click. This is what I do. There's a lot of methods. All right, there's like shortcuts as well, but right now if I tell you shortcuts, then it's gonna harm you more than it's gonna be quicker, but in the long run it's gonna harm you. So see here, there's options to do everything here. For extruding, meaning creating thickness, all right, we can press M plus T, or we can press D. So just see here, right? If I press D, we have the extrude tool, which you can see the icon of extrusion next to our cursor. All right, and there is inset. Now inset, I have to show you in this video. I don't know if I'll be able to show you, because it's going to be a little bit difficult for you in the beginning, very beginning. I'm just going to tell you how to extrude. All right, we are going to make a separate video about this as well, and all the upcoming topics which I'm going to talk about. Click and drag inside. All right, not outside, meaning I'm dragging inside. Like right now, if I'm clicking, wait, let me select everything, click and drag on the left, which is basically inside, which is just creating an extrusion inside. But now what's happening is that when you do this stuff, what's happening is that it's going inside, but it's not creating a thickness. For creating thickness, we don't have to do this stuff. All right, for creating thickness, what we have to do is create caps. Now it's gonna work. Now see, it's creating thickness, and we need it to be thick like this. All right, now you can see thickness. We can see there is thickness, but inside there is nothing. As in 3D, when you create extrusion and stuff, it just does not fill the space in between. All right, it's still hollow inside, but it's like it creates the impression that it's thick, but in reality it's not. There is nothing inside, it's hollow. There is like a little bit of space in the bottom as well, all sides. All right, so here we get a container which is perfectly thick. Now select everything by Ctrl A again. Now what you will see is that the normals are reversed. Now normals is that there's two sides of a polygon. One is a yellow side and another is a purple side. The purple side is the side which should be inside, which should not be shown to you, and the orange one should be what you should see. But here we see the purple side, and if you go inside, what you're gonna see is that orange one is inside rather than being outside. All right, the purple one is outside right now. So we want to reverse that stuff. Now if you select everything, press click, there is an option. Now what you have to do is right click, and here you will see an option which says reverse normals, and it's just going to reverse everything. All right, the purple side is going to become the orange side, the orange side is going to become the purple side. So this is what we have to do. All right, this is very important thing, because I'm going to talk about it when we create materials, which is basically what you know, the colors and everything you'll see on the container. This is gonna be a glass for especially for creating stuff like glass and stuff like that. You have to have some thickness, and the normal should be there properly. All right, shouldn't be reversed. This is what it should look like. The orange side should be, you know, outside rather than inside. So I'm just gonna save because, you know, I just don't want to lose anything. Now, when we have successfully created this stuff, what you can do is move on the next stuff, which was to create the helix. Wait a second, I forgot to do a main thing right here. Alright guys, and the thing was to actually subdivide this. Click on the cylinder, press alt, alright, hold alt, not press, hold alt, and click on this subdivision surface, and it's gonna create a subdivision surface. And now what's happened is it's gonna be hard for you to understand. What has happened is that for you to understand it properly, it just makes everything smoother. If you don't have those many segments which you created before, you can just use the subdivision surface. All right, but here, see what it has done. All right, so this is what you see. All right guys, when you add the subdivision, now it's gonna create a lot of curve, you know, stuff like that, which we don't need currently. Follow me. All right, just follow me right now, because everything which I do is gonna go over your head. Just follow me guys. All right, just turn this subdivision off, right click on the screen, select the cylinder, right click, and what you have to do is create a loop path cut, and just create one here. Just see my cursor and do what I say. All right, click here once. All right, click once outside. All right, and see the inside of it, click here. All right, click here, click here, and the same outside guys. And it's pretty hard for you to understand right now, but you know, I just don't want to make you feel very confused right now. So if you turn back the subdivision surface on, it's not as curvier like it was before. Now it's proper, just what we need. So I'm gonna save, and now I'm gonna give this name a container. Now we are gonna create a helix, which we see on the outside. All right, this thing, the green one. All right, which just gives a good look to it. I added that for that reason only. Click on this. This is for creating curves basically. All right, and it's also required for creating different shapes. You can create either by this or either by this, and this is for like text, you know, if you want to create 3D text and stuff like that. I'm just gonna tell everything quickly about all these things. This subdivision surface, this extrude, basically we can extrude any curve, which also I'm gonna talk about, not in this video, because it's gonna be, all these things are gonna make you very confused. All right guys, this is for volume basically. Also, you don't need to care about it right now. This is for cloning. Cloning means, you know what cloning means. You know, if you put a cloner on this stuff, it's just gonna clone many copies of this same thing. All right, which we are going to talk about now. Just a minute. This is for deforming, which also we are going to talk about after. This fields, and all these things are really not of your concern guys. It's not going to be any of your concern. Now let's dive into creating helix. Now we can create a helix from here. All right, what you have to do is, when you want to create any of these things, hold the click, then go inside, release the click on which thing you want to make. So if I release on the helix, then you're gonna see the helix. Now the helix is on the XY plane. All right, we want it to be on the XZ plane, which is like this. For moving anything, you have to get in the model mode. All right, without getting in the model mode, you cannot move anything. And select the move and just align it. Yeah, that looks about fine. We have to decrease the radius because it's like way too big, you know, the radius of the helix way too big. Now, there's a start radius and there's an end radius, so you have to just copy if you want both of them to be same like I did before, you just have to copy it. All right, now I'm just gonna find something which looks good. you just do the same as well. 64 here, and do the same on the end radius. 64. All right, so this is basically what it is right here. Now of course it's not gonna be the same. Probability of doing anything similar what we did before is very low. That's the thing. And there's the stuff like start angle. So this is what start angle does. It's just gonna stretch it more. All right, and if you do the end angle, then it's gonna do from the top. You can kind of understand when you do this. All right, I'm just gonna keep it on default. That's it. You have height and stuff like that. You can increase the height of it, and then you want to create more, more spiral, more frequent spirals. Then you can just decrease the start angle and stuff like that. You can just customize everything. So see, you create a lot of these. You can also increase the subdivisions if you want the curve to be more accurate. Right now I don't want it to be that accurate because it already is. There's 100 subdivisions. It's more than enough. It's gonna be a little bit hard for you to understand. It's the same thing which I did before. Is to create a ring. Just follow me. All right, at this point it's gonna be hard for you to understand. Create a sweep. All right, now what the sweep does is I'm just gonna tell you. I'm just gonna do it, and then I'm gonna tell you. All right, you are gonna understand it better if I do it before. Just follow me and do what I do, guys. We created helix, we created sweep. Now see here, we have the helix below the circle. Now you don't have to bother about that. Put the helix inside the sweep. For putting it inside anything, for putting things inside anything, just click on them and drag inside the sweep. All right, it's similar to other softwares as well. It's pretty easy. Just follow what I do. What we have to do is create a circle. Now this is the circle. Now this circle is very, very huge. We want it to be like, I remember I put it on like 4 before. Now what we have to do is put the circle inside the sweep and see what we got. Easy, right? Easy. Now that was on the XY plane. That's why that happened. All right, if it was on the ZY plane, something weird could have happened on it. And if it was on the XZ plane, something totally weird. All right, every time it's gonna be weird. So you have to do it properly. If you're confused, just check all of them, and in one of them it's gonna fit properly, guys. So in my case, it's fitting properly in the XY case. So what happens is that the helix, which is on the bottom, all right, if we change the order, then it's gonna look something weird. All right, so you have to keep order in your mind. So what's happening is that around the helix, all right, around this helix, there is an extrusion which is getting created, which looks like a circle because we created a circle. And now what happens is that the circle is 4 centimeters, meaning happened is that this circle, all right, this which you see is 4 centimeters wide. Now if I increase it, see, it's getting thicker and thicker. The helix part is basically the circle. Kind of hard to understand right now, but if you do that again and again, you're gonna understand it properly. And all these things, loft, sweep, lay, stuff like that, it's all almost the same. It's just how it's implemented. That's also a way to create different shapes, different complex objects and stuff. All these things are done. We created the container, we created the spiral. What we have to do now is create the shapes. All right, guys, so we created the helix and also we created the container. All right, so it's basically like a ring, right? So I'm just gonna name it ring right here. You can double click in order to name it. All right, now it's a ring. I mean, it was already a ring, but I just named it in order to distinguish properly. So that's it. Now what we have to do is create the shapes, which I created right here. Now if you see, I created these shapes which are falling inside the container, and it's pretty easy to make them and arrange them in like random spots. First we have to create those shapes. All right, that's the thing which you have to do. First create a cube. Now that's a very huge cube, alright. Just press T and scale it, drag and scale it, as I told you. Now, I don't know if it's that big or small. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Press T and yeah, I forgot to tell you the shortcuts, alright guys. For move, if you wanna select the move tool, press E. If you wanna select the rotate tool, press R. And if you wanna select the scaling tool, press T, right? So I think this is very small, right? So a little bit bigger. Yeah, I guess that will work. I mean, I guess that's even so that not big, but because this will be better. So this is a box. Now we have to create the pyramid. This is also huge as well. I'm just gonna eyeball it, you know, if they look pretty similar. Just gonna keep it a little bit smaller. So this is a pyramid. This is a sphere. Now with the sphere, what we can do is that, again, things like sphere, cylinder and stuff like that, what happens is that they are made up of course, as I said, polygons don't have curves. They are just straight, alright? They are just straight. They just connect the displacements. Now you can see this does not look exact circle, right? So what we have to do is increase the segments, and I would recommend to increase it something to like I guess 60 would be fine, right? Yeah. Now it's pretty fine, but keep this in mind that it's gonna increase the time to calculate everything. Alright, so it's gonna be a little more time taking when you do stuff like cloning and stuff. Alright, I guess that's it. Now turn off the sphere and the pyramid. Now what you can do is, you see these two dots. One is for the viewport. The dot which is above is for the viewport. When you click it and it turns red, meaning you cannot see that in the viewport. And if you click the dot which is below and you make it red, it means that it's not going to be shown in the render as well. Alright, both are different. The viewport which you see is different and what you render is completely different. Alright, now see, if I turn the dot red which is below, now what's happening is that you see it in the viewport, but if we render it, it's not going to be seen. We have to turn both of these off. Alright, for that just Alt and click and it's going to turn both of these red. Similar with the pyramid, do it. Alright, now what we can do is clone this cube and then replicate to, you know, the pyramid and the sphere as well. Create a cloner on that. Cloner. Now you see a grid, alright? You don't want the grid, you want linear like this. It's creating everything in a linear order, and this is what I do. Alright, you don't have to get into this like in deep, but you know, slowly and surely you will understand everything properly. For now, keep it on linear. What you can do is arrange these by x-axis or the y-axis or the z-axis. Now what happens is that it's already arranged on the y-axis by 50. If I make it like 0, you just see 1. Now it's not 1, but it's actually 3. The count is set on 3, but what's happening is that it's on the same point. Alright, all the cubes are on the same point. So there are 3 cubes, but they are like overlapping on one another. Alright, that's it. So if I increase that, you will see. Now they are getting separate. Alright, so on default it's 50 so that you can see, you know, otherwise people are gonna get confused a lot. Now what you can do is increase the count. Alright, so it keeps increasing. Now we need 4, I guess, right? In the like, for that I kept it like 4 or something. So yeah, 4 is good for now. Let me save. Now this is changing every clone by 50 centimeters, meaning this is set on per step. Alright, for endpoint it's different and it's gonna be pretty confusing. Just copy these things. Alright, I'm not gonna talk about everything. Per step means like 50. See, there's 50 centimeter difference between each of them. Alright, 50, 50 and 50. Now what we can do is we can increase the rotation as well. See, now what's happening is that this one is on 0, this one is on 0, the next one is on 12, the next one, the one which is above that, is on 24, and the one which is above that is on 36. So it's incrementing, alright? 0, 12, 24 and 36. This rotation is on the H1, alright? Now the P1 is gonna give the rotation on different, alright? So let me change. Alright, on the P1, this one is 0, this one is 21, this is 42, 63. Similar like it was before, alright? Just the sides are different now. Similarly, we can do on the B, 0, 20, 40, 60. Easy. You can also do with the scale, which is also similar. On the X1, we can increase it to like 110. So this is not uniform scale, alright? Because we're increasing the X, Y, and Z separately. Now we did for the X. Now what's happening is this one, the one which is above, is 110% on the one which is below. This one is 110% of one which is on the second number, and the fourth one is the 110% which is on the third one. Alright, so it's like per step. So per step it's like increasing, one after one. So this is basically like, you could say compound interest, like that, if you have studied economics and stuff like that. So what I would like to do is do a little bit of rotation. All right, little bit rotation here to there. So create some differences. Don't have to be, I'm not gonna do the scale one here. There's another option to do the scale and rotation and everything, all right, which I'm gonna talk about. But here you can do these things, all right, if you want. That's it. Now what you can do is you can randomize these cubes even more. And how you can do it, click on the cloner, come here, all right, see this one, and click on random, and this is like an effector. I'll just keep that above the cloner for now, so that it's easy for you to understand. What it does is it randomizes the position, the rotation, and the scale of these cubes even more. You can do that on the cloner, but it's pretty uniform, like 10% increase every time, stuff like that, just increasing properly. But here it's just random, it's just completely random, all right. Like before it was 2 degrees, suppose it does not give rotation on default, but I can do that as well here. But before, if you do 2 degrees, then it's going to be 2, then on the next one it's going to be 4, on the next one it's going to be 6, like that. All right, so that's the thing. But here it's not like that, guys. Here it's completely random. So on default it has position selected, the random one, all right, and it's applying to the cloner. All right, so what happens is that there's effectors here. So effectors affect the cloner. All right, effectors affect the cloner. It does not do anything by itself, it just affects the cloner. So the random, of course, the name is random, it's affecting the cloner. Follow me and you're gonna understand everything. On default, it's of course the position. I can decrease the amount of randomness by decreasing the numbers, like 1 1 1. All right, now it's not gonna make that much difference because it's like negligible amount. So let's make it 10, 10 and 10. Now you can see the position, it's how it's set is that the randomness, it's gonna be in 10 centimeters of each, it's gonna go 10 centimeters here or there, all right, in XYZ direction. That's it, it's not gonna go more than that. Before we had 50 on default, all right, so it created a lot of randomness. Similar with rotation, all right, on rotation on default it's 0. What we can do is create rotation all these HPB 5, 4, 3, 7 randomly. All right, so you might see some randomness in that. It's a little bit, all right, guys, it's a little bit. See, it's a little bit, you're not gonna see that much difference. But if I do like 30, 50, 70, Now you're gonna see good amount of difference. Now you can do scale. Now the setting which you didn't have in the cloner was the uniform scale. Alright, now here you see it. Now there is gonna be randomness in the scale. Alright, see, some cubes are bigger, some cubes are smaller, a little bit of randomness, it's gonna work, guys, not more than that. And here we have this setup. Alright, here we have this easy setup which you can do. What I would recommend to do is increase the spacing a little bit, which is gonna help, after when we do for the pyramid and the spheres. Alright, just gonna keep it like 100. This is good. Alright, now when it's done, what we can do is just group these random and cloner. Select those random and cloner. The cube is inside the cloner, so if we do that to cloner, the cube is also gonna be inside it, so you don't have to select that. Now what we can do is group objects, and it's gonna create a null. Now null is also there in different applications. If you have used Adobe applications, there's null. So you created a null and everything goes inside. So why we use null? It's just to organize everything properly. This is just cube. Now what we can do is that do for the pyramid. Now I don't want to do it again and again and again for pyramid and sphere as well. So what I can do is just copy the system which I have made, right? So now we turn on the pyramid, and I'm just gonna select the cloner, alright, and drag it down below. Alright, copy it down below. So for copying, what you can do is hold Control and then drag. Now we created the cloner again. So we don't need the cube inside it, we need the pyramid inside it. Alright, so put the pyramid inside it. Now you see the pyramid is inside the cube. Now what's happening is that it's just copying this thing and just putting inside that stuff which we don't need right now. And the random factor is also selected, because when you create the random, what happens is that if you go in the cloner, the random effector is selected, and the random one is this one. We need to create another random effector which does not do the same thing like we did before, right? We need the pyramids to be in different areas, right? Not on the same area. Delete the random which is here and create a new random. Alright, select the cloner, then create random. And now this random is different because everything is on different spot, in different rotation and stuff like that. I'm just gonna create a little bit of rotation. That's it. Little bit of scale, uniform scale, and just do that for the pyramid, for the sphere as well. Alright, don't keep everything same. Alright, it's gonna make a lot of confusion, guys. And what you can do is just change the spot. What you can do is, again, you can just null, you can just group these random and cloner. This is different one. Alright, don't get confused. Alright, this is for the pyramid group, and this is for pyramid. Now we can kind of move this, move the null in order to move everything. Set this in a random way. Alright, little bit here, bit here. I guess this looks good. Now we want to create the same thing for sphere, so do the same thing. Alright, do the same thing which I did for the pyramid. Copy and do that again for the sphere. I'm just gonna do this fast. Alright guys, so here we have it. Alright, everything is random here right now. Everything is pretty random. What we can do right now is that select all these and just keep making copies again and again. So what you can do is select all these things, press Control and do this again. I guess I did it like 4 times before. Let me check how many times did I do. I guess I did more than 4 times. Yeah, I did like, you can create even more randomness, so feel free to, do the settings and stuff. What I'm seeing is that my sphere is not aligning properly, meaning it can fall outside of the glass. So let me do that again. All right, you need to align everything properly. Okay, so now guys, I aligned it properly so that they don't go outside the container, and you have to do it properly. Like, you can middle click on the viewport, and you can see the top view and see if those are like getting inside the container. Otherwise, we are gonna simulate it. All right, we are gonna put the gravity, so it's gonna fall inside the container. If you don't have those aligned, they are gonna fall outside as well, some of them. So align it properly. You can just do that by middle click. You can see all the views. There's the perspective view, which you can change. There's a top view, there's a right view, there's also a front view, and you can also change it even more, guys. All right, you can go in camera, and there's option for everything, or a left, right, front, back, top, bottom, isometric, diametric, military, gentleman, bird, frog. There's a lot of stuff. All right, but for now, keep it like that. All right, you can experiment that. This is what we get for now. What we can do is just copy these. All right, one after one. Kind of zoom out, select all of them, copy, and create another copy. There's like four different one. So we're gonna check if we require more, then we can create. Of course, we can create that anytime, but for now, this is what we do for now. And now, for making them fall. No, okay, before we start doing that, if we just organize this stuff. All right, because it has created so many layers. So group object, it will create another null, and it will be our shapes. What we can do is right click and make a bullet tag on it, which is rigid body, and I'm gonna talk about that once I do this as well. Container, right click on container as well, and now make this a collider body. So the shape has a rigid body and the container has a collider body. So what happens is that this collider body, it's not gonna move. All right, even if we press space, it's not gonna simulate anything on that. Like, it's just gonna interact with other rigid bodies, soft bodies, and stuff like that, but it's not gonna do anything by itself right now, guys. So it's just gonna stay at its place. Now the shapes which we have here have the rigid body tag. So see what happens, guys. Everything falls inside, and see, it's interacting as it's in real life. See, all right, everything is bouncing, there's a friction, there's collision, everything is happening. So when you create rigid body, what it does is it creates, first of all, on the basic level, it creates a gravity. All right, it creates gravity, so it goes down, and it also interacts with each other. The rigid bodies interact with each other, and also with the collider body. The collider body does not do anything by itself. It just collides with other rigid bodies, meaning the collider body does not have gravity. In simple terms, it's gonna stay at the same place. It's just acting as a collider. So here you can see the tags. All right, by the way, feel free to comment if you have any questions. All right, because these things can be a little bit tricky to understand, but I will be able to answer all of your questions. Now you can also change the settings. I don't want to talk about a lot here because it can get confusing, so I would recommend to keep it like it is. Keep in mind that when you have like something which has something under it, when you have, suppose we have a null, I added the rigid body on it, you have to keep in mind that this apply tag to children should be turned on. All right, if you don't have this none, if you have this on none, it's not gonna happen. See what's happening, the gravity is affecting it. What's happening is it's not colliding, guys. It's not colliding properly because the null is basically invisible. So when it's colliding, it's never colliding with the container, right? It's only when it's applying to the null is going down by the gravity. but null is basically nothing. There is no shape, there is nothing, guys. So it just keeps going down. It's not colliding anywhere. All right, when you select the apply tag to children, which is basically turned on by default, everything which is inside the null is also interacting with the object, which is basically the container, which is static. That's it, guys. That's all you want to know for now. We're gonna dive deeper into that as well. It's a separate video, a specific video on that as well. So that's it for now, and this is basically everything, guys. Now what's happening, which you have to keep in mind, it did not happen when I tried to make it before, but what's happening is that computer has to calculate a lot. So what happens is that sometimes it makes some error, which is, in this case, what happens is that the shape is getting outside of the collider, which you don't want actually. So what we can do here is, now what we are going to do is add a rigging tag. So now what we are going to do is add a collider tag to this container and select all of these, nulls and add rigid body. Now see what's gonna happen. Now guys, when I added the collider body tag on the container and I added the rigid body tags to these shapes, what's happening was that there was something stupid happening, which was that the shapes were getting outside of this container. They were not getting outside actually, but some part of it was looking outside of it. So what if it happens with you, what you can do is press Ctrl D, go into bullet here, alright, and what you can do here is that go on expert and increase the steps per frame and maximum solver iterations per step, and you can just copy mine if you were following with me, and now you're not gonna have that problem. See, everything is good. Now we want lights, we need camera, we need a plane, which I'm not gonna talk about now. We're gonna talk about that in the rendering area. Now we need a light. Now here, as you can see, I'm using a redshift light, which is like from the renderer. All right, it's not natively there in Cinema 4D. All right, so I'm gonna show you the exact same stuff with native renderer. All right, if you want to use redshift, of course you can buy it. All right, I mean, I'm also gonna do a video on redshift, how to render with the redshift. All right, in that case you can see that video as well. Now here I'm gonna do with normal light. All right, so to create a light, press click on this light object, hold it and create an area light. Now the area light is, wait a second, yeah, the area light is created here. All right, and we can have a shot from here. All right, we can have a shot from here. I will tell you how to create camera and stuff. First we'll create a light. So one light should be behind it, which is gonna give this little bit of glow. Yeah, this looks great. This angle looks great. If you are like a photographer or something, it's gonna be really easy for you to understand everything, and you probably gonna have a lot easier time than me because you know how to set up light and everything. It's similar to which is done in real life. I'm just gonna make it farther because there's like a rule which says that when the light is farther, the edges, like where the light ends, fades properly. When I have the light farther, I don't know what the exact terms are, but yeah, it does happen. If I have it close, there's gonna be very, very sharp edges. Now we're gonna have same light, just gonna copy, control and hold and drag the top. I'm gonna have this here. Now it does not matter where you face the light at. In redshift you have to face, there's only one side from where the light comes out. All right, this one, the light comes out from both of the sides. All right, so it does not matter. So I guess this angle looks good. Just gonna make it a little bit farther, and I'm also gonna decrease the intensity of the light. Go on the first light. I guess the first light has proper intensity. The second light which we created here does not has a lot of intensity. So when you click on the light, you have the option to decrease the intensity. I guess this will work. For now it will work. We are gonna, of course we are gonna change in the rendering area, but for now it's more than enough. Alright, so let's create a camera. Create a camera. For getting into the camera, press here. Alright, now you can check the camera, you can give it angle. If you don't select it, then it's not gonna change where the camera is. Alright, so normally I keep the focal length at 125. Alright, I know it's gonna be a lot for some people, but for me it looks good. That's why I can rotate the camera a little bit. See, this kind of gives me a really cool look. Alright, you can do all the things here, right? This is for transform, this is for rotation, this is for scale. Scale is not needed, of course. Why would you need the scale, so you can of course do it as you want. Alright, I think this angles look good. Yeah, this looks good. As I told you, it's the same. Alright, like how you orbit and pan and zoom in the viewport. Just select the camera and do it. That's it. And you can also adjust from here as well. Alright, so here we have it. Alright, a good angle. Now as everything is set up, let's make the material. Now what you have to do is click on this icon right here, material manager, press on create and create a new standard material. Now this is the Cinema 4D standard material. When you have some other vendor, you will have specific materials for all of them. So let's click on this. So we want a glass material. So how can we get a glass material? So for getting the glass, what you should do is turn on the transparency. Alright, now it's already set as a glass. Now what you can do is take the glass material and apply it to the container. Now let's see how the render looks like. First you select the camera and then press render to picture viewer. Now you'll see. See, this is how it looks like. Currently, this is how it looks like. This is gonna vary a lot on what settings you use. So right now you see like pixel edges and stuff like that. The reason is because the settings are not as good. The reason why I also use redshift is because you don't have to do that much settings. On default, it just does everything for you. That's what I like about redshift. But I just made this way so that people who don't have redshift can do that as well. So what you can do is go to render and edit render settings. Alright, so come here. Now the preset is 1280 into 720. Normally people should use 1920 into 1080 for stuff like YouTube and stuff, but yeah, if you're using Instagram, then you should probably use square ones, but it depends on where you're gonna upload. Alright, now let's go to the options. So this is where you have to change the settings. Alright, this is the main place. Alright, now transparency is turned on. If you turn this off, then we are not gonna see transparency. As easy as that. Now what you can do is, the reason why you're seeing everything so pixeled is because you have to increase this ray threshold. Sorry guys for interrupting. I just wanted to tell that you actually have to decrease the ray threshold. I didn't know this before because I'm used to using redshift, and it's quite rare for me to use this. But if you think about this, if it has less lower threshold, then it's actually gonna have higher quality. Other than that, you can keep everything same. You can just do like 0.05, something like that. When I recorded before this, I actually increased it, which actually lowers the quality. So keep that in mind, guys. It's you should actually lower it. Alright, but other than that, the colors and stuff, feel free to follow the same thing. Alright, that's it. And this is, by the way, what you see instead of the bad result. This is what you'll see. It's gonna take a lot of time, alright? See, it's taking a lot of time. It's taking a lot of time. So the clarity will be much better if you decrease it. Other than that, do all the same settings, alright? This was the only thing which I accidentally told you wrong. But still, we do not have that good, edges and stuff like we have in Redshift, guys. So I would recommend using Redshift, over it. Now, as we have these results, what we can do is that we can change the anti-aliasing settings. Go to render settings. There, what we can do is go to anti-aliasing and turn on best. What else we can do is add ambient occlusion. This is also what you can do. And also you can add global illumination. And now these things are gonna be really hard for a lot of new people to understand, but just see, now you're getting better results. The reason is, if you'll see this, the shadows and everything are much better, and that's because we did the two settings, which is ambient occlusion and that and global illumination. Like, it just makes everything very good. So I would highly recommend using that. Now, as we have this glass material, I also had the emissive material, alright, on this helix. So let's create that. Create a material, turn off the transparency, turn on glow, and let's just make it green color. Green glow, it would look good. Brightness 100, and let's add it to the ring. Okay, that's way too much. Alright, we don't want to do that. Alright guys, that's way too much. Let's change the color as well. Alright, now let's see. So this is what we get, and I know you're gonna say like, why does it look so bad? The reason is, this is just the standard renderer. That's why I always prefer Redshift over any other renderer. And also, I literally don't have that much knowledge about this render as well, and I have heard about a lot of people that you cannot do a lot of different stuff like color user data, which I use for generating random colors on the geometry shapes and stuff like that. So I'm also gonna make a video on Redshift actually, which is what I know, and I have a deep knowledge about Redshift, but I have not used this standard renderer that much, so it's not gonna be that great looking. Alright, but still I would try to make it as good as possible, guys. Now let's make colors for the shapes. Now, as I said, there's a way to generate random colors to different shapes, which are gonna get inside the container, but you have to use like effectors and stuff, which I'm not gonna get into right now. Alright, so it's really easy in Redshift to do that, because there's a node called color user data, which just makes it really easy. So now what we can do is just use normal colors, and let's use a pink color, and we can add it to the shapes. This is what you see right here, and let's render it. It's gonna take some time, of course. This is what we get. So you see, the colors are not that great in this standard renderer. Of course, that's what you will expect. Let's add the backplate, which I used in the background to make it white. Let's do it. Just save. Let's create a plane. We want it in this axis. push it a little bit backwards, a little bit here, a little bit backward, yeah. And let's do this. Now we can, make another material, and I guess this material will work because it's it's already. Just make it white. Just make the material white and apply it to the plane. And now let's run the render. Alright, this is what we get, guys. This is what we get. And I know it does not look that good as good as the Redshift render, but at least we can do something with it, But I would highly recommend you guys to use Redshift because it has a lot of settings. The render looks really nice. Like I'm using this render. I usually never use this. Alright, I usually never use this. I have like used this like a long time ago. From that time I'm using Redshift and I never looked back, guys. So you should definitely give Redshift a try, and there's a lot of stuff you can do there which you cannot do here. And one more thing which I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna throw some more light on this background because it's really dark. So if I make a light, let me make a light. We can decrease the intensity. Now what you can do is click on the light and put the shape, the ring and the container in this, so that this light does not give light to these, the things we created. I don't know what we should call it. Alright, the main stuff. It will just give the light to the background, which just makes it whiter. That's it, guys. That's it. And now let's see. I always get confused because usually I don't use this workflow. Alright, so I'm getting confused. Alright, so guys, bear with me. If the light is like too much on the background, then we can, of course, decrease the intensity. Yeah, I think it's too much because the glass is getting disappeared. I think we need to decrease it. Or it can look good if you want it, if you want, then of course it's gonna look good. Of course we can go here and decrease the intensity, which is like way too much in my opinion. 50, no, 50 is like too little. Let's run the render now. And by the way, this Cinema 4D render works with CPU, alright? It does not use GPU, guys. The thing is, with Redshift, it uses GPU, which is really good for doing fast, renders. Now we are getting little good, kind of good render. Otherwise, it does not look good. Now we are getting something good. That's it for this. What I also did was that I created a vibrate on this camera, which can help with giving some handheld motion. So here, animation tags and then vibrate, and now enable position, and I did, I guess so, 0.2, yeah, 0.2 on the camera, and that gave kind of a motion, See, there's a little bit of motion. I don't know if you can see it right now because it's very little. See, if I increase it, then you're gonna see, but it's gonna be too much. See, now you can see properly. If I increase it even more, it's gonna be a lot. So I would not recommend doing this much, guys. This is way too much. It's gonna look really bad. So just use 0.2. It's like a subtle, and it's gonna do its job. You don't need more than that. It's gonna look really weird. It's very subtle, and that's it, guys. I guess that does the job, And also one more thing which we forgot, which I wanted to talk about, was animating. Alright, so what I animated in this project was this stuff. Alright, this spiral which starts from here and just spreads out. So how we can do is go to ring, and we have an end growth. We can animate anything in this Cinema 4D. We can animate anything. You can animate position, you can animate anything. So how you can animate is that turn this end growth into 0. See what it does. If it's on 0, it's nothing. If it's on 100, it's on the max. So I'll tell you how to keyframe. So the basic concept of animating is using keyframe. If you have used cinema, if you have used After Effects or Premiere Pro or something like that, it's basically in every animating stuff, in every animating software. So this is what you have to press. All right, this diamond next to what you want to animate. So press this. All right, on 0 it's gonna be on 0. All right, on 0 frame it's gonna be on 0%, and on 90th frame it's gonna be on 100, and just click it again. This is what you see. Yep, this is what you see. It looks good, right? And I know render looks pretty disastrous, because as I said, I don't advocate for standard render. It's just slow. It does not give that good quality renders, and that's the thing. I have to max the settings and stuff in order to make it look good. That's the only thing. So now when we get this, all right, I think it's everything, right? We can save it. And how to render this stuff? All right, the easiest way is go to render settings again, go to output. We already have set this to 1920 into 1080p, so that's what it will render in. If you are animating, you can select frames, all right, from where to where, like from which frame to which frame. So if you do all frames, it's gonna do all 0 to 90 frames, which is 91, because 0 is also counted as a frame. All right. You can also select manually, like 40 something, 0 to 40 frames, or you can do all frames, because that's the end of animation. And when it's done, what it will, you can select a place where you want to save it, and then you can use what format you're gonna save in. All right, so I would recommend to save in PNG or JPG. These are the only two things which I recommend. It will create like a lot of images. Then what you can do is in Premiere on After Effects, you can combine, you can create a PNG sequence or like a JPG sequence, which is gonna benefit you a lot. If you do it in MP4, like suppose, God forbid, if your power goes out or your anything, your PC is having hard time rendering image or something like that, and it's in the middle of like suppose it's on 20th frame. All right, it's rendering the 20th frame. When you are doing MP4, your whole file is gonna get corrupted, so again you have to start with 0. But if you do on PNG, it would have rendered like 20 images already, so you have to start with 21 again. That's gonna save you a lot of time. So I would highly recommend to do with PNG or JPG. Let's do it PNG. Now I'm just gonna select an area, so let's do it here. Yeah, I selected an area, and this is where. And then what you can do is close this. All right, everything is done here, and you can start the render. Now it's gonna keep rendering until it renders the whole 90 image. First frame is done. Second frame, it's kind of like super fast. So I guess I can increase the settings. I actually don't know that much about that, but I'm just gonna crank up the settings, guys. I mean, it's happening that fast in CPU rendering. You can increase the ambient occlusion 20, 64 and 28 samples. Now little bit of improvement you can see. It's a little bit clearer, but I still don't feel like it's much better, guys. I still don't feel like it's much better. And yeah, that's it guys. You can wait till it's rendered completely, then you can just combine those images into an image sequence. Just before I close this video, I just want to tell how I rendered with my Redshift. If you have the Redshift, it's basically the same, you know, it's basically the same. Every setting is the same. It's just you have different material for Redshift, and I'm gonna make a complete new video about how to render with the Redshift. All right, so just bear with me, and I will be posting about how to render with Redshift. See, everything is similar. We also had like a glass material like this, then we have like the emissive material like this, and so on. All right, see the render last time, like how, like you can see the difference. It's like so good. All right, the difference is, it's just amazing. The difference is just amazing, and it's like, it's GPU rendering, guys. By the way, I rendered in a square, you know, because I wanted to post it on Instagram. That's why. See how good it looks. See, like there's like no comparison. There's like no comparison by far. Literally no comparison, and it's on default setting, guys. Like I have not changed anything. I have not changed anything, guys. Let me show you. Redshift. I just change it from medium to high. You can do, you know, you can also do manual settings. I do it if I need like more accurate results, but it just does the job right on high as well. If you go on very high, then it's gonna take some more time, but if you, of course, if you increase, the render time is also gonna increase because it has to calculate a lot more. See the difference, guys. Here, like there's no match. All right, there's no match. So I would highly recommend using Redshift, and I'm also gonna make a follow-up video on how to render with Redshift, guys, after this, because I know a lot of people are gonna ask that. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and consider liking this video if you enjoyed and gained a lot of, you know, knowledge. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. Bye bye.